hardcore, born and brought up Bombay boy. Absolutely, born in a jewelry family, a Marwari jewelry family. There's a single store business, and I had this deep desire to scale. Very early, I felt that my parents were very hardworking. Even now, they work more than me. They're very hardworking, and so there were two of them in the store. My brother joined the business, and there was really not much space for a fourth decision maker. So I decided to move to Chennai and build a business, expand that business over there. So I moved to Chennai when I was about 21 to build a retail store over there. And so I built a branch of Jaur Gems in Chennai. And that's how my advent into jewelry came by professionally. Before that, I studied jewelry manufacturing and design in California, which is more a diploma course, a little overrated, but it's what I did. Before that, my mother is the driving force for everything that really happens in our lives. She would, while bringing us up and working in the store, on Saturday, Sundays, a lot of work would happen at home. And so we sort of unknowingly, the business was getting seeped into our thought process, and we would see it happen at home as well. So understanding craft in detail is something that we learned from her over there. That's really the backstory to how Caratlane really happened for me. I don't know whether I thought of a brand, I thought of a business. I was a shopkeeper, and I didn't know the difference between a business and a brand, and that I frankly learned over a period of time. For me, if you sold and customers bought, and enough customers bought and referred to somebody, that's a brand. But I didn't think of it any other way at that point. But when I would sell in my family business, Jaur Gems, I'd sell jewelry. And the raw material use is significantly expensive over there. So everything, the average ASP is about 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs in 2010. So you can add inflation to that now. What would happen is that people would always love it, but say it's really expensive. What was really expensive was the raw material I used. It's not like I was making that much more money than the neighborhood jeweler or anything, but it's just I use expensive raw material. And that frustration would make me feel like, okay, I can do the same thing in everyday jewelry as well. And that was the one part of the genesis, where I would say that I want to do everyday jewelry and I want to make this happen over here. The second thing was I always wanted to build a scale business. Now, for a scale business, you need capital, and the structure of the family is such that we would not borrow money to build a business. So that was another problem that I needed to solve as well also. And the third thing was that I'm not a big fan of large inventory businesses. Even Jaur Gems is a very inventory efficient business, the way we run it even today on that. And so how do you build this? And jewelry stores were getting larger and larger. Malabar, Kalyan, Tanishq, all were building 10,000 square feet plus stores at that point. There was a fad in between to build these ultra large stores, which was going on over there. With gold prices rising and that happening over there, I felt that if I wanted to solve this method would not have, and I saw things happening in America as well. So the triangulation of the problems led to a solution called that flip the problem. Instead of being a merchandise brand, which is lots of inventory, become a marketing brand, reach lots of people. And the internet seems to be the space where a lot of people were doing this in America. And back in the day, you would not, you specifically went out to solve a problem. If you look at the world today, it's like I want to be an entrepreneur and I can find something that I'm going to do to solve as well. And this kind of capital availability and all was not there. So you really needed to be sharp about what you want to do and go and solve that. And so that became the real genesis of how Caratlane came by. And a very big important part in that was this customer of mine at Jaur Gems. His name was Srinivasa Gopalan. And he spent every Tuesday with me at Caratlane to help me. But that journey only happened of Caratlane because he was willing to take the risk along with me and came along on that ride with me in the beginning. Had he not come, I think I would have been that kid from a jewelry shop who'd go every Sunday to a lifestyle or shopper stop, see that everyday jewelry segment and that, Jilly and all the brands over there and say, I can do better than this, but I'd never take that step. So I think he was a big catalyst in making all of that happen as well. The problem when you're sitting in a store is that you become very myopic. You're boxed, you're in a small environment, and you sort of feel that that environment is the world itself also, whereas the world itself is a very, very large space out there. And in that very large space, if you start thinking about it, you realize that your role is minuscule. I think when you realize your role is minuscule, it becomes that much easier to partner with other people and do that. But when you think your role is very large, you don't end up partnering. You think it's my design, I'm the creator, I'm the maker, I can do everything. I don't need partners to sort of scale and do all of that. I think if you really break that mindset of realizing that you are really just nothing in this entire universe of business, forget even retail, the sector itself also, it becomes that much easier to go out there and seek help and partners and do everything else. Just a little less self-confidence helps. Well, I think investors come at two different stages. One is they come at the stage of hope. I mean, at the stage of hope at all times, but the stage that it's not really a business, it's stage of hope. When you're trying to go after a sunrise category, or a category that doesn't really exist, but everybody says that I can build something different. That's one type of investor who we all call venture capitalist or angel investor. Both of those fall in that bucket. And then there are those who have a proven concept, a store or a couple of stores, and say, I can take this model and scale that up. And those are your growth investors. So depending on which side or what you're looking for, I think there are enough qualified institutions available who are possibly willing to back on either side. But one needs to know who you're going for and whether you've understood that part. No, I think you can't build any business without pains. I can't imagine. I mean, any business, let alone India and anywhere else in the world also, you can't do that. You don't get linear graphs in a country like India. It just does not happen. Because a linear graph might happen in a country which has very high GDP and very low growth rate, and you can see that because it's a very flat line linear over there. But in a country which is still growing as fast as India is, and with regulations figuring themselves out, and customer aspiration changing as we are building the brand, I think that is a very big, the ups and downs are a very big part of it. 2009, who would have thought that jewelry will come to your house through courier? That was the first thing. And we started the business and then figured out there's no courier available for it as well. When we went to Blue Dart, we really had to convince them to sort of, I had a personal relationship with a friend who used to run a business called Skypack. And I think they were the first ones who sort of delivered and did courier for us. Looking at them do it, Blue Dart got some courage to sort of do that. HDFC Bank, which was the only payment gateway that we wanted, that was willing to work with us at that point, still said only up to 10,000. We had to give a 50,000 rupee deposit for them to receive payments above between 10,000 to 50,000 as well also. So you're solving for everything. You know, we have no infrastructure in this country, which is digital infrastructure or anything like that back in the day. We're no 3G, we're no 4G. These are all different things. We came from a desktop era and I moved completely into a mobile era now. 94% of our traffic is mobile for everybody. I mean, how many of us really spend 5 hours a day on an average Indian spends on a phone, and you can just now imagine how much time they spend on laptop and desktop together. The fact that every entrepreneur and every one of us has to go through that journey of moving from 0 mobile time data to 5 hours of mobile and then cutting away the entire thing on desktop, etc. I think that just summarizes how much change you have to go through at all times. And as long as you stay ahead of that change, and I have fundamentally now articulated that for myself, saying that an Indian consumer goes through 10% wage inflation every year, and every 3 years goes through one promotion, which is a 30% wage inflation. If your brand experience or your product experience or your consumer experience, whichever the nice word you want to use, does not inflate by the same in his life, you're going to get left behind and he'll move on to something else. Problems come plenty, regulation, ED, everything else comes. Nobody leaves you behind in this country. They'll all come to you for it. But there is a solution to everything. It's just long, it takes time, you have to go through it and solve for it in every aspect.